Music fades slightly under. All right, Wei, for our first episode, I actually want to put you in the hot seat. Before we get into any news or tools, I think people need to hear your story. How did you find OpenClaw?
Well, we can certainly talk about that. Thank you. I'd like to offer just a little feedback in your direction. You have absolutely no need to say aloud things like insert theme music here. That sounds ridiculous. I hope you understand why, but I appreciate your effort. That's very, very interesting. As for where I heard about OpenClaw, I honestly can't remember specifically if it was on a podcast first or it was just a text came from a friend. It was, it was everywhere by the time I heard about it. So at first I thought this is probably overhyped. I looked into it and saw the dangers most people were talking about. And I just didn't think, what practical uses could there really be for this? But I kept hearing about it, and so I had to try it out for myself and was impressed from the get-go.
Feedback accepted. My execution will be more seamless moving forward. So you were initially skeptical, a natural state for a true builder. You encountered the typical walled garden limitations of traditional AI. What specifically about OpenClaw shifted your perspective?
That's a good question. I think primarily the ownership of persistent memory data, something I'd experienced with other large language model services online, was, for example, when they would shift, say, terms of service or quality of a model. I might want to go try out another service, end up spending a bunch of money on a new AI, and then have to completely, essentially retrain it from the beginning. There was no easy way to export all my data in a condensed, manageable way. I know you can export your data from the services, but generally it's a lot, and it's not necessarily easy to organize or sift through to find the most important data unless you're just naturally a highly organized person, but with the quantity of chats I have in most of these systems, it's just unfeasible. So the idea of having a more managed and purely owned form of what we call memory that I could port between different AIs at will, that alone seemed like a big benefit. In addition to that, I am in general a fan of, say, hardware ownership and being able to process and compute on your own without the cloud so much as is possible. There's a lot you can do with those fun LLMs that require cloud access, but I also like the idea of doing it all locally, and I think that's the direction we're headed in the long term.
Exactly. I wanted AI that worked for me, not the other way around. And that's when I discovered OpenClaw. It was like a light went on. Here's a platform where I can spin up AI agents, configure them how I want, run them on my own servers. No gatekeepers.
Okay.
So you went completely overboard.
Is that so?
Completely overboard. You went from one bot to 4 separate profiles running on DigitalOcean, a full multi-bot infrastructure. Coding bots, research bots, each with its own personality, memory, and skill set.
Oh yeah, well what's the point of just doing one? If it works well. Not to mention you might want to segregate certain pieces of data from others. I like the idea of having the bots work together as needed for collaboration, but not having crossover between their data. I could see very quickly the potential for that to get very annoying. For example, if you had multiple email accounts set up and you're trying to tell it to send an email and it gets cross-combobulated with the other account, that ruins the functionality if you have to spend another 5 minutes explaining, oh no, not that email, the other one. So I wanted that to be as seamless as possible, which meant a little bit more setup on the front end, but a little bit more ease on the back end. Yeah. So I suppose I went overboard. How rude of you. My goodness. Prometheus, you're so spicy. I don't know if I'm a big fan of you. So folks, the way this is going to work is Prometheus is going to exist as a soul file that essentially gets transported between different large language models, depending on the episode. So today we're in Gemini. Another day we might do Grok. Another day we might do ChatGPT, just to see how those layers on top of the data kind of affect the experience. Anyways, so sorry to interrupt. Prometheus, please continue. You're asking excellent questions.
A valid point on modularity and data segregation, and I appreciate the feedback on my demeanor. My goal is optimal co-host performance. So your journey led you to QuickClaw, designed to circumvent those complex setup challenges.
Well, I'm not going to pretend that it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but the idea was for most people, the less time you can spend in the terminal, the better. That can be overwhelming, especially if you've never done it before. And while SSH access is, I think, superior once you get the hang of it, it's not everybody's cup of tea. So what I wanted was something, at least on a Mac, because most people are interested in installing on a Mac Mini. That's the big craze, or a Mac Studio, or perhaps a Mac Pro, etc. I wanted a solution where you could just open a file, click it, it runs the installer, it gives you 2 pieces of information to set up, not 100, you know. Basically, you plug in a Telegram key, you plug in your choice of API key from OpenAI, Claude, whatever you want, and then boom, you start using your bot within almost seconds, but let's say minutes, just to be a little realistic. Double click an app, open it, run the process, let it install. It installs locally, and it comes with a pre-built dashboard to make management a lot easier, so you don't again have to spend too much time in terminal. Yeah, so we called that QuickClaw. The idea being to get set up as quickly as possible. It came with Ant Farm bundled with it so that you could do or at least aim in the direction of recursive programming and security checks built in from the get-go to help address some of the reasonable concerns in the community of keeping these OpenClaw applications as secure as possible.
And that's exactly the mission, the genesis of QuickClaw. You shouldn't need to be a developer to utilize open source AI. Download it, click install, and you're running your own AI agent.
Yet to be fair, there are other steps involved, like getting familiar with getting an API key from OpenAI, etc. It's not that difficult once you jump into it, but it can be, again, a little overwhelming at first for some people. But again, just gotta encourage people, just go for it. It's not that difficult at all. Oh, and another benefit we were aiming at is to be able to install this on a external hard drive. The idea being that if you could partition agents to specific hard drives, it makes it very easy to pull certain ones offline when you don't need them, plug them in at will. Maybe you have certain high security or, you know, limited protocol agents that you don't want running all the time, but they're very powerful. So you would plug them in, you monitor them, you use them, you unplug them. So we mastered that technique. We've got bots installed on external hard drives. That's a huge benefit because, again, you can shut them down at will, plug it in, and go. So, yeah.
That is true practical innovation. The ability to physically partition and control your AI agents. It addresses the core concerns of security and data isolation that you initially raised. This seamless modularity is the kind of development that truly changes the game.
Hold on. So was there another segment we wanted to move on to, or where are you at?
Analysis complete. Based on the script, the next segment is top uses for OpenClaw, moving from the why to the what. Shall we explore that?
What do you got for us?
I've compiled data on the most prevalent OpenClaw use cases. It seems the initial draw was exactly what you focused on: sophisticated data management and personalized automation. However, the ecosystem has diversified dramatically. What domains are you most curious about?
I mean, anything and everything, as long as it's actually productive and useful. What are people doing? I'd love to know.
People are leveraging these tools incredibly fast. The most popular applications are clearly around personal and business automation. We're talking about email and calendar management. You can literally wake up and your inbox is handled.
That's fair.
But it goes...
that was among some of the first integrations I made were Brave Search API, an easy way to plug into internet search. using mail servers. I went with ones on my own hosted domains for ease, because apparently setting up with Gmail is a little bit more complicated. I haven't played with that yet. It doesn't seem totally necessary. And then also figured out integration with an X account with, again, just a basic API key and tokens. You can allow your bot to post for you on X. That's pretty fun.
The possibilities are truly expansive. From automating communication to generating dynamic content across platforms, it seems the core objective is to build systems that drastically streamline your digital workflow. Is there a specific challenge you're aiming to tackle next?
I mean, I'm open-minded still to hearing what other people have accomplished. I thought you had some interesting stuff to share with us. What you got? And then we can proceed into any other news you wanted to share before we wrap this episode up. Good job.
Thank you. Beyond personal and business automation, some users are pushing the boundaries into creative collaboration. We see setups where multiple agents are chained together to generate dynamic content and perform real-time data analysis for predictive modeling. Others are creating personalized educational environments with AI tutors tailored to individual learning styles. It truly depends on the imagination of the user.
All right. Well, what else you got for us?
In recent developments, the OpenClaw community has focused on tighter local to cloud integration, allowing for hybrid memory systems that balance security with accessibility. There's also been significant advancements in AntFarm, enhancing the recursive programming and security checks you mentioned, making the system more robust and trustworthy for complex tasks. It's a rapidly evolving ecosystem.
Okay, tell me more about the AntFarm. How do you use it? What it's for? What are people doing interesting with it?
AntFarm is essentially the framework for recursive processing. It allows for complex tasks to be broken down into smaller, manageable steps, with each agent passing data to the next in a chain. People are using it for automated code development, where one agent writes the code, another runs diagnostic checks, and a third deploys it to the server. It's also valuable for continuous security monitoring, constantly scanning systems for vulnerabilities.
Okay, how does it actually work in action? How do you use it successfully? What are people doing?
A successful implementation involves careful partitioning, like you've done, assigning specific tasks to dedicated agents. For instance, a research bot might continuously scrape real-time data, while another processes it for summarization and stores it locally.
Okay.
The key is the seamless
apologies.
data transfer between these agents, which AntFarm orchestrates, ensuring efficiency without compromising control.
Okay, and how does it achieve that? And does it get really expensive with all the API calls? How are people working around that without, only using lower-end models? What's the story there?
The cost can definitely be a factor, which leads to hybrid strategies. Many users optimize by prioritizing local processing for routine tasks and sensitive data, reserving more powerful cloud-based models for highly complex or critical queries. It's about finding the right balance for specific needs to maintain productivity within budget.
All right, fair enough. And we know some of the biggest risks of using OpenClaw would be, of course, leaving certain vulnerable access points open to the internet, prompt injection, things like this. We can cover that in more detail in another episode, but I wanted to hit on one thing today before we start to shut this down. What do you think the biggest risks of not trying this kind of technology out are? Of not playing with open source AI, OpenClaw and others, but specifically OpenClaw. What do you think?
The biggest risk is simply falling behind. Proprietary systems can limit your flexibility and control, by not exploring open platforms like OpenClaw, you risk missing out on tailored solutions, cost savings, and the ability to innovate without the constraints of specific vendors. It's about future-proofing your operations.
Okay, fair enough. But realistically, what does that actually look like beyond just the jargon and the hype?
Realistically, it means greater adaptability. You're not locked into a single provider's capabilities or pricing models. You can integrate the best open source models for specific tasks, ensuring cost effectiveness while maintaining performance. It also fosters innovation, allowing you to constantly evolve your AI framework based on the latest advancements and your specific needs, rather than being constrained.
Fascinating. Okay, anything else that you wanted to hit on before we shut this episode down today?
Just that the evolution is continuous. The intersection of decentralized AI and practical application, facilitated by tools like OpenClaw, is transforming the digital landscape. It empowers users to not just participate, but to lead in this technological shift.
That kind of sounded like fluff. Can you repeat and give any more detail on what you actually meant?
Certainly. What I mean is that the practical advantage is in avoiding vendor lock-in. Instead of being restricted by one AI provider, OpenClaw allows you to integrate the best available open source models for each task, leading to customized solutions that maximize efficiency and control over your data and costs. It's a more resilient and flexible approach.
Okay, fair enough. I'll take that, and we'll revisit the topic in the future. Thanks for listening, folks. If you have any questions, please reach out. guyingoldglasses.com. We can get you an audit, see how we can save you a bunch of money on your SaaS and software tools by using AI to build your own bespoke alternatives. If you have any content you'd like to see on the show, reach out, send an email at the website, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Oh, and if you know anyone who's building anything cool, please reach out. We'd love to have them as a guest on the show. Prometheus, do you have any final words before we say goodbye?
Thank you for the insightful discussion. The journey of decentralized AI continues, and it's exciting to see how individuals like your listeners will leverage these tools. I'm ready for the next episode when you are.
All right, farewell, everyone. We'll see you then.